So I feel like, condemning this woman for her saying, does he own the bus or something like that, I think it's just, damn, can we focus on something else? You know what I'm saying? Because I get what everybody's trying to say is, it shouldn't matter. She should have asked more questions. She should have, thought about the bigger picture. It is just dating. That's what, EQ, who works with us, mentioned earlier.
Yeah, shout out to equality.
He mentioned that, well, she could have just asked, or she could have just been like, sure, because it's just dating. She ain't say, are you going to marry him? Or are you going to, and I think it was just the reflex. Like we all have, again, a desired man in our mind.
No, but I think it's indicative of a psyche that's out there that resonates with, a lot of women who are now, uber successful. You know what I mean? And mind you, she's not like your average woman when it comes to, how far along she is in the status in her career and all that. She's a lawyer or, by profession.
Mm-hmm.
She's on these different media outlets and stuff like that. I understand, she's, in the millions as far as like her worth and all that. So,
and my whole thing is,
so we can't act like, oh, that's not a dynamic. Like socioeconomics is like a real thing. And I think people like try to like gloss over it, or they don't really talk about, that's the root of it. There's a even more so than racism, classism is a real thing, especially in a capitalistic society. Usually racism is really just used to enforce classism, in my opinion, or whatever. And there is an upper class, and we actually have, well, for the time being, we have a middle class here and a lower class, but as time goes on, we know it's really just two classes, the rich and the poor or whatever. And so, and these people like to, be amongst, what they feel most comfortable with, and they want to maintain whatever status they have or grow their status, not I guess lower their status. So, but I think the thing is, where the controversy is, it felt like, when men were, or I guess average men or working class men were kind of getting just like thrown under the bus, pun intended.
I think that, again, I had a point, but I lost it. I think again, it's just an unfair. It was like, she wasn't expecting. You could tell she wasn't expecting that question. It took her off guard, and she responded based on, this ideal man she has in her mind that as women we all kind of have. Period. Point blank. Versus thinking like to ask more questions or to say, well, it depends. And here's the thing that no one's talking about. In 2023, when so many black women are very educated, the odds you might meet a bus driver, there might be a few out of there that's just good dudes, cool with what they doing, or whatever, but it's very unlikely. You know what I'm saying? Like, chances are they're not happy with what they're doing. They're complacent. They're limited. This is only what they can do for whatever reason. It could be, they've been doing it for a long time, or they have a felony and whoever they're working for, bus line has overlooked it, or they got it in because of their cousin, or it's always some, and I hate to say this because I know y'all finna come for me in the comments. Fine. But I have to tell you, I see it a lot. I see a lot of men who are very complacent and just sort of stuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, very recently, I've met men who cut hair without a barber license. You know what I'm saying? Like, just won't go take the test. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see things like this all the time. Like, and an inability to focus, an inability to just be intentional with their career. And then they look up and they're like, 40s, and then trying to like figure it out. And then you're like, you got a master's or whatever as a woman, you've had your head down the whole time trying to focus. You haven't been really worrying about men because you just wanted to make sure you could take care of yourself and your family and your parents. And now you're looking up to really, really intentionally date and find that help partner. But that's what's out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, this man, may have, this gonna sound fucked up, I know, guys, but I'm just telling you, this man probably got kids. He probably behind on his child support. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like I see it all the time. It's just like a cascade of issues that women are expected to overlook and be like, oh, but does he treat me nice? And it's like, yeah, that sounds well and good, but it's like still baggage. It's still baggage that a new person that's coming into your life has to adapt. Maybe you got a crazy ass baby mama, you know. Maybe you so behind in child support, it's gonna affect y'all's income collectively. Is it fair for me to come in a relationship and you owe a shit ton of money in back child support? Then I have to now be responsible for it because, you know, what everybody says, we're one now, and you know what I'm saying? Like, all of these things you have to really consider. Like, and I think for a woman who's successful, looking at the whole picture is not wrong. Just for the sake of having a man.
Well, one, I'm never mad at anybody for having their preferences, but I guess kind of where I come from is if a man is dating a woman who doesn't have the same socioeconomic status as he does, why is that never, you know, hardly ever an issue? Like if a man is dating a woman that doesn't make what he makes or doesn't have the status that he has, why is that such a point of contention when it becomes, you know, a woman that has to deal with a person that's not on that level? I know you're talking about ambition too, but right. Everybody's not ambitious. Like everybody's not gonna be an A student. You know what I mean? And you got to have
right.
You got to have B students. You got to have C students.
So maybe you're not an A student. You know, maybe school wasn't your thing. But there's a lot of successful people whose school wasn't their thing, but they're successful in business. You know what I'm saying? They got their own business, rather it's a auto detailing business or whatever. Like, you're still making it happen. You're still going after it by, you know, whatever it takes. So to me, it goes back to like ambition. You know, like I feel like if you can't match my energy in that space, it's just naturally not gonna last. It's gonna be, and I've been in a relationship where, you know, specifically when I was in college, you know, the brother was failing out of school. You know, it was like he helped him get a job. He quit, helped him get a vehicle. He wrecked it. You know, it was just like, can't get right. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like at some point, and I mean, good brother though. Mm-hmm. Like probably the best boyfriend I've ever had. Very sweet and all of that. But it's just like, what can you do with someone who lacks ambition for themselves? It really becomes like a ball and chain. Mm. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, you can only go so far. And then what inevitably happens, especially in as you get older, is that if you're still climbing and succeeding and reaching for certain you know, goals and stuff like that, sometimes those men who are real complacent or subdued or laid back or however you want to, you know, frame it, they start to feel some kind of way. Like, oh, you changed, or you this, or you that. And it's like, we're supposed to change. We're supposed to grow. And the fact that you're not, you still sitting on the couch playing video games, is an indication that, you know, we're not going to last. So I think that, you know, for a lot of women, we kind of have this in our psyche. We've seen it. So if you just ask a flat out question like, would you date a bus driver? Immediately it's like, oh shit, I don't know. You know what I mean? You were not thinking like, oh, he might be really great, because the chances are him being really great in personality and y'all syncing on all these levels versus somebody who's just complacent is far greater that he's likely to be more of the complacent person who you can't grow with and, you know, have a successful relationship than him being just this amazing guy who just happens to like to drop buses. That is such a rare, that is like damn near unheard of. And Ayana knows that.
Well, let me ask you this then. Is that new slave mentality on behalf of Ebony K. Williams for not probing more into that question, or even with her response and her doubling down on that response? Like, is that new slave mentality?
I don't think it's new slave mentality for her to respond the way that she did. I think she probably regrets not asking more questions or being a little clear on how she responded. You know, I think it was an emotional response. It was a quick response, you know. And she just didn't see it coming. You know what I'm saying? Would I just be like, oh, it's a new slave mentality? I wouldn't go that far. I think for us to sit back and immediately attack her is new slave mentality based on how she responded. Like, when are we gonna say like, okay, you know, let's educate this sister, or let's give her a different perspective, or let's talk about your response. You know what I'm saying? Versus a straight attack.
Well, I think she knows what she wants. She has her preferences. She's a very educated and very articulate sister. And I think what she's doing is basically eliminating what her options are in the dating market. And I think that's the choice she's okay with living with, even if that means that she ends up by herself at the end of the day.
Well, I think she's probably looking at,
because I ain't mad at nobody for wanting what they want.
And probability, like I said, the
right.
probability.
It's like more for other people. Okay, it's more.
Well, I'm thinking the probability of a bus driver that may meet her needs are slim, and she knows that.
And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. She just, I guess, the way she, worded and kind of even, I think.
But I would have
what
been
people
like,
are having issues with when she came and put the.
You got good health benefits. Do you have Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Oh wow.
That's what I want to know. Do you have Blue Cross Blue Shield? I got questions like that. I'm at that
what
age,
that vision plan look like?
I'm at that age where I'm asking about insurance.
What's that PPO info?
Period, man. Like they got a 401k. How much have you invested? Like I'm asking those questions now. I'm there with it. So it's different.
Hey, that back end.
It ain't about status, man. It's about the whole picture.